Hey, how you doing today? It's On Fire Show. You're here with Daryl McKell Brooks, and it's another Super Tuesday. It is the 23rd. You got 2 more days to see the big Santa Claus come to your house. And it's exciting. We're going to have an exciting show today. As you know, it's the 23rd. We got 2 more days before Christmas, and our two other co-hosts are not here today. They're out having a great time with their families, and I say hi to Neil and his family, and also to Joe and his family, Joe Ciano and Neil Schlush and his family. You know, I just got a text from Neil, and I just want to say, it's been great. And can they hear us? I mean, some of the things that they cannot hear us. All right, it's been great. And Neil has sent me a text, say to the Schlush family, Carolyn's party, happy holidays to the Coulters, Marcios, and Olivias. Oh my God, you know I'm bad with this. The Mohills and his brother and sister-in-law. But also, you want to say he's also shout out to the Parker and Monroe as well, and tell them that Santa's checking on them if they're naughty or nice. And it has been great. And so, you know, one of the things, is that we're working on is going to be a great show, and a wonderful show that people can experience, and people call in and check on the show. And make phone calls, and we got people calling from all around the city and state and this country to come on Fire Show. And so we'd like to thank our audience. We're going to have a great New Year 2015. We're going to have a great show, great shows next year. And so also, you know, I want to talk about something. Clifford Adams is coming. Clifford Adams' wife is coming on. If you don't know anything about Clifford Adams is he was one of our Trenton's great musicians, and also he's a member of Cool in the Gang. Get Down on It, Celebration, yeah. He's in the hospital right now, and we're going to really talk about what's happening with him in the hospital. He's suffering from liver cancer, and he has diabetes, and a situation going on in the hospital. As you know, with some of these big hospitals, Capital Health, there's a lot of bureaucracy, and his wife is going to call in and talk about that. What's happening with that. Also, we're going to have Barb Gonzalez from the Bayshore Tea Party group. She is definitely coming on. She's a political pundit all around the state. If you're a Tea Partier and a conservative somewhere, you should know who Barbara Gonzalez is out of the Bayshore Tea Party groups. And Barbara will be calling in about 8:50 to talk about some of the things that's happening around the state, and also up in New York City with the Bill Blasio and the mayor of New York, and it's a lot of things that are happening. We're going to talk about the 2 cops that was assassinated a few days ago, and we're going to talk about a wide range of issues. And also, I got Anwar Salandy coming on from Anwar Reflections. He's a blogger and writer. Also, you're going to have Dr. Long coming on. He is a professor and a poet. So we're going to have a lot of things happening today, and we're going to have a lot of great callers calling in, talking about some serious issues from around the city to around the state. And I believe that we have, is she's on? Hello? She's on hold? We have a sister, and her name is, like I said before, Clifford Adams, and this is Marcia Adams. Marcia Adams is Clifford Adams' wife. Can we get her on right now? What do we have to do to get her on, Ruben?
Transfer.
Can we transfer? All right. Hello, Marcia.
Yes.
Hi. As you know, we were just talking about you and Clifford Adams, and yeah, I told everybody on the show who's listening to the radio show about your husband, Clifford Adams. Clifford Adams is a great musician. He's also a part of the Cool in the Gang. He's been on there for years. He's from the city of Trenton, and boy, I got Neil texting me. He's sent about 20,000 texts. But we're going to talk about your husband and what's happening at the the hospital in the city of Trenton, and it's the hospital. Is it Capital Health Hospital?
It's Capital Health Hospital in Trenton.
Better known as Helen Full Hospital on Brunswick
Right.
Avenue.
It was formerly Helen Fold. Yes.
Yeah. So, Marcia, tell us about what's happening with your husband in the hospital.
Okay, I will do the best I can. I have to admit I'm emotional because I'm in the throes of it and just getting information as of today. But first of all, if you talked about Clifford Adams and you know him, he's a renowned musician. He's a lover of jazz and funk and rock, and he's dedicated to working with teaching music. He's just that's just what he does.
Yeah.
He has done many, many wonderful things. However, now he's very, very ill, and he's at the Capitol Hospital. He's been there since, I want to say, the middle of November. And he found out while he was there that he had end-stage liver disease, which, if you know, is very, very serious. And the only thing that will help you, or that you can survive with, is a liver transplant. So the problem is Clifford went in without insurance. It was a period of time when he was uninsured. We happen to fall into that gray zone where if you make a certain amount of money, then you don't qualify for certain programs. And if you don't have enough money, then you pay market rates for your insurance. So it was a little gray zone there. He fell into that at a time when he needed insurance the most and did not have it. And what happened there is they told us that they were helping us find different places for him to go. We're looking into different facilities in Pennsylvania for the liver transplant. Made us think that would happen. It did not. And it was a lot of back and forth, various doctors, just rotating doctors, rotating information, almost difficult to keep up with daily. Finally, we found out that in Newark, at the University Hospital, they have an excellent liver transplant department. You don't have to, if you don't have insurance and you're a New Jersey resident, it was fine. We wanted to have Clifford transferred from where he is now to there.
Okay.
And that's where we ran into all the problems. It was just a back and forth. They told me as recently as Friday that everything was approved. They'd worked out legal work. That seems to be the thing, this jargon with verbiage in legal. And I don't even know what that is, and they don't even really explain it to you, and they won't let you understand it. And they told us that was worked out and that he would be, transferred immediately. We were very excited. Friday passed, Saturday passed, nothing. Sunday morning I go in and they tell me, there's more problems with legal. They're having some issues with some of the verbiage and some of the, just issues around that. Meanwhile, this he is in ICU. He is critical. I'm just going to say it. He's dying. Yes. He really is, and it breaks my heart to say it. That's why I'm on the radio right now. While at this moment, I found out yesterday, they said they had more legal issues, which is why he didn't go on Sunday.
What?
But they ironed him out. That's what I was told yesterday. Today, I find out there are more legal issues. So at this very moment, as we're on this phone, we're hung up in legal issues while this man is dying, and the hospital center in Newark is waiting for him.
Now, Marcia, when they say legal issues, what are the legal issues?
Well, since no one can talk to legal, and I can't tell you for sure, I don't know. They could tell you anything. It's the gray zone. It's where, to tell you the truth, what I really say, and I don't even know if I should say it, I think they're just waiting to see if he's going to live until January 1st.
Wow. We can't... Yeah.
For Clifford right now, from now to January 1st could be like from here to eternity.
Yes. And I understand. I am appalled about what the Capitol Health is doing right now. Something has to be done, and like you said, it's Clifford Adams is a music historian. a great musician. He's with Kool and the Gang, and he's been pushing out great music for, I guess, over 40 years right now.
He's played with people like Max Roach, Art Blakey. I mean, he is an amazing, giving, loving musician. He's been working with Thomas Grace, the legendary saxophonist and his mentor, in Trenton, teaching music to children. They do that on Saturdays at the conservatory because that's what they did. That's how they got it.
Okay.
And music is no longer being taught in the schools, so they were giving of their own time to do that. That's the kind of person we're talking about.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't seem to mean anything to these people, which is why I am on the phone. I mean, on this call, and I'm going to do whatever I can.
Well, we definitely want to help you on Fire News Network, the OnFire show. And as we talked earlier over the phone, we have to really take it to the Capitol Health. And, we're going to have some type of press conference. And I talked to Doc Long. I think Doc Long will be calling in, but sending out a press release and saying exactly what is happening to your husband. And people all over the city know who your husband is, and all over the country know your husband. So we really have to get.
I get messages daily from China, Japan, France, all over the world. He's a world-renowned, loving artist.
Yes.
I mean, his music is about love and about sharing.
Yes.
And caring.
Yes. So I as I talked with Doc Long, and I know you're having a meeting tomorrow at 10:30 at the conservatory.
Yes, that's right. We are.
And so, what I suggested is that somehow we put pressure on the Capitol Health, because something has to be done, and he needs to be out like yesterday.
And the people are waiting for him.
Yes.
I mean, that is the travesty of this whole thing.
Yes.
I mean, and there's nothing that they can do there to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And his only chance is with the people that are waiting for him at the Liver Transplant Center in Newark.
Mm-hmm.
And he's being held up by dotting I's, crossing T's, and who knows what.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely want to deal with that tomorrow. Will you be at the hospital tomorrow?
Yes, I will. I most certainly will.
Okay. What time will you be at the hospital?
Whatever time you need me to be there.
Well, I can.
I'm there all the time, so I mean, whenever you need me to be there.
When is visiting hours?
Actually, I wanted to tell you that we are having a meeting tomorrow at the conservatory.
Okay.
And that's at 10:30. And basically, what we want to do there is just kind of craft out just an agenda for actions. Because I mean, I'm talking without script here. This is just from my heart, reaching out to all the people who are reaching out to Clifford to give them an opportunity to be active, proactive in a situation where that is needed. So that will be happening tomorrow. I wrote down the address. Maybe Doc can help me with that. I don't see it right now, but it's at the Conservatory on State Street in Trenton at 10:30.
Yes.
Where we're just going to get together and come up with those items.
Okay.
And then I know you and I had spoke earlier about coming up with, just the press release and whatever other things that we can do, news media. I've also been in contact with the newspaper in Philadelphia, the Enquirer, and I have an interview tomorrow with Bob Callender, that's tomorrow. And I believe he will be present tomorrow also at the hospital. So, it's just happening, and it's really fluid. It's not organized, but I'm hoping that my being on the phone will help people come to the cause here.
Yes,
we don't have to.
And definitely call Capitol Health. I didn't know he was in the hospital, and so like I said, I'll be. When is visiting hours?
I'm not really sure because he's in intensive care. He's in critical. He's critical. So I don't know what those hours are. I just go all the time. I think if you just call to the hospital, they will let you know that. But I don't even know if visitation for him is the thing that he needs. What he needs is the presence of interested people on his behalf, speaking against this travesty of keeping him here when he needs to be someplace that will save his life.
Yes.
That is what he needs.
And so we will, we will do everything. I would do everything I can within my power, and make phone calls, and definitely we definitely have to put together a press release and press release and let the Trentonian and Times know, and Channel 6 and other stations know about the travesty that was happening at the Capitol Health Center. So
Okay.
I thank you for calling in, and I will talk to you.
I have the address for the Jazz Conservatory.
Okay.
It's 540 East State Street in Trenton.
Okay, no problem.
And I'm going to give you a phone number, too. That number is 609 858 2279.
2279 at the conservatory. What's the address again?
540 East State Street.
540 East State Street at 10:30. All right, my sister, and you'll be in my prayers. You and your husband will be in my prayers tonight. And we're definitely going to have, we're going to do something. He has to leave and be in Newark where he's needed.
He's got to get there.
He will get there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
All right. That was, ladies and gentlemen, that was Marcia Adams, Clifford Adams' wife, Clifford Adams of Kool and the Gang. You know, if any of you know who Kool and the Gang is, Kool and the Gang is one of the greatest R&B acts in the history of America music. Celebration, Get Down on It. I mean, a lot of great songs. Kool and the Gang, Stone Love. You know, and we're gonna play Kool and the Gang right now. But if you don't know who Kool and the Gang is, yeah, we're gonna play that right now. And here's one of their songs with Clifford Adams on it. It's called Fresh by Kool and the Gang. So we'll be right back. This is on Fire News Network, and we're going to have Barb Gonzalez from the Bayshore Tea Party. And she's coming on, and we're going to definitely get down on it and talk about some things was happening around the state of New Jersey. This is on Fire Show, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of these serious issues. I'd like to thank all our listeners and say hi to our family and friends in Josiano, and we'll be right. Hey, you're back with On Fire Show. This is Daryl McKell Brooks, and I'd like to say shout out. I get these texts from Neil, and Neil, I don't know where is Neil at, but he wants to give a shout out to Holly and Brian Alster, and happy holidays to Holly and Brian Alster. And also, we want to let everybody know, coming up on January 6th, we're going to have, these some great names. Harmon Caslow and Jeff Skolsky. Jeff, if you don't know, Jeff will be in the studio. He was one of the producers. Harmon is the producer of Atlas Shrugged. That's January 6th. We're going to have the producer of Atlas Shrugged, Mr. Harmon. And so we'd like to thank all the listeners who's listening to the show. And we have a very special guest. She is a political pundit, if that's what you want to call her, one of the female political pundits that we have in the state of New Jersey. She is a Tea Party conservative. She is a political pundit to Miss Barb Gonzalez from the Bayshore Tea Party. Hey, Barbara, how you doing?
Hi, Daryl. Well, that's a lot better than what some other people call me.
Oh, well, you should hear what they call me. So.
I like that one.
You should hear it.
Merry Christmas to you,
Merry
my good
Christmas
friend.
to you. So tell me, what's going on in the state of New Jersey, around the country? I know you want to definitely talk about what's happening in New York City with the mayor of New York City, Bill Blasio, and with the NYPD. So what are you learning from what's happening in New York City right now?
Well, I mean, you know, the craziest thing, let me go off on a different, because I know a lot of people, like, would keep saying the same thing over and over.
Okay.
I have a theory that Bill de Blasio is a fictional character created by the left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because his last name isn't even de Blasio. He's got some other weird name, and I don't know what it is. And it's Wilhelm something or other. So he created this Italian last name so that they can say, look, here's a white Italian man married to a black woman who's bisexual.
Whoa!
And I think, I'm going to be really, really crazy now. And I think he forces his son to wear that 10-inch afro. So he could say, look, I'm telling you, he's a fictional character. The whole family is fictional.
Wow.
It's like a typical left, almost like, I'm going to live my life like this on purpose just so I could look like a real diverse man who just gets along with everyone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's as wackadoodle as they come.
Yeah.
But I'm joking, of course. I don't think he's a fictional character, but he certainly, is one of the loony left. And I really don't think he's doing anyone any good. And I kind of understand why the police turned their back on him, because he turned his back on them, and that's not what any leaders at this time, when you're having such problems going on. The worst thing to do is to instigate it.
Yeah.
He should be out there saying calm. Even Obama, before this happened, when we had the first in Ferguson, they should, Eric Holder, Obama, they should have been coming out and calming the people down. There's so much good in this country, and things might not be perfect, but we've come so far. And, you have to talk about that. You have to talk about the positive things. And they just brought us back about 50 years, and it's really a shame.
Yeah. What are other people saying? I know you've been on the Facebook, and you're going to be chatting with other people around the state. What are the people saying about what's happening in New York City, and especially about the two officers that was assassinated a few days ago, that was shot and killed?
Well, Daryl, in a way it's really sad, because I think once again I see a big division. It's another way to have us be divided on issues. It's almost like you have to take a side. You feel like, okay, and I don't like to be that way. I like to be very fair. I like to hear the facts about things, like with the Michael Brown. I'm sorry, I just do think that he was, I think he wasn't doing the right thing. I think he was stealing stuff from the store. I do think that he went towards the officer. But then on the other, the Staten Island incident, look, should you resist arrest? No. Should they be having to arrest people over Lucy cigarettes? No. But I think that was more of a really unfortunate incident that a lot of people can learn from. I definitely don't think it was a racial thing. Then you try to say that, and you feel like, okay, I didn't say anything against the police because I felt that way. I just think that sometimes things happen. It doesn't mean the police always have to be right, and it doesn't mean that the person, that was getting in trouble has to be right.
Yeah, and one of the things is that when I'm going to have a friend of mine, Anwar Salandy from the Anwar Reflections blog. And, we had a discussion, and, and the idea of trusting police officers, and, and I want to say this because, I've been through some things with the police officers, and, when I look at cops, I don't look at all cops are all bad. You got good cops. You got good cops, you got bad cops. You got good people,
Absolutely.
You got evil people. And when I saw the Eric Gardner thing, and I see people on the street selling cigarettes every day, selling Lucy's.
Uh-huh.
And, I looked at it, and I was like, well, he didn't have to die. And, that's it just sad, a sad incident. And he was selling Lucy's, and we know it's wrong, but it's selling cigarettes.
Right. The whole, I understand that once somebody calls the police, they have to come. And, I really do wish that there was at least a little more warning. Like, listen, sir, if you don't comply, we're going to put you down, and we're going to handcuff you. We're going to have to do it forcefully if you don't do it. I think if another 10 seconds of conversation would have been made, and we would have been able to hear another 10 seconds of maybe warning him, I think people might have said, well, look, he was warned. But it seemed so fast. It just seemed like so... I don't know. I was like, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, and he was on. And the size of the man, and I have asthma, so I know that if you had me squashed on the floor on my side, it is hard to breathe. And I don't think it had anything to do with the chokehold. I think it had more to do with his size and the way he was laying on the ground.
Yeah.
And excited all at the same time. He wasn't in good health. But again, I think my kids went to Catholic school, and there were a couple of priests taken out of there for God knows what reason, and we didn't march down the street saying, who do we want? What do we want? Dead priests. When do we want it now? You can't do that. Uh-huh. There's bad and good in every profession and every walk of life.
Yeah, and it's a shame that situation happened, and also it was a shame that these two cops were murdered.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's horrible.
It just bothers me because we're looking at a society that's gone totally mad and with violence, and violence doesn't work. We all know that. And when it comes to dealing with police officers, I mean, a lot of people need to be trained. I think that from both sides, to the point of, we have people who are not cops and people who are, who are out there. They have to understand they have to respect police officers too. Even though they may be perceived as wrong sometimes, you still have to respect them because they're the law. And you gotta understand, you gotta know how to deal with the law. And we have a lot of young people out there who just don't know how to deal with police at all. I mean, if you look at the Ferguson case, I was growing up, and we both I was telling some older guys that I was 18, 19, but back in the day, well, we knew not to challenge an officer, not to reach for his gun.
Of course.
I mean, that would be the last thing you could. I mean, that's not even you don't phantoms, just doing something like that, reaching for an officer gun.
You just diffuse the situation by just saying, look, officer, was I speeding, or what was I doing something wrong? I apologize. You're going to be, the odds are they're going to be fine and let you go. And I have a lot of conversations with my sons about this, and one of my sons is he's liberal, and he.
You got a liberal son? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have one conservative and one liberal. And, he has a point. I mean, he said, Mom, it's not that it's more likely, the point he's trying to make, I guess, is it's more likely that you would think that a black person would be doing something wrong, or than you would think. And I said to him, see, now I personally don't look at things that way. I look at, like, the demeanor of a person and what they're wearing and how they make me feel. If I saw, somebody dressed in a suit, I wouldn't be, rattled by it at all. But if I saw someone dressed like, kind of, no matter what color they were, I'm going to be more likely to. But he does research on that kind of stuff. He's a student of political psychology, and that's what he studies.
Okay.
Says that research does show that there's more mistrust. In other words, if you see a black individual, your guard is up more likely than they would be. And if that's true, that's really a terrible thing. But, I think as a society, we can discuss it and get through that and get over it and not,
if we can
not
only
the way we're doing it now. This is just terrible because, like I said, we're taking sides now. Now you have people, I'm on the cop side and I'm on this side and death to this one and that one. It's just a mess. Yeah,
if only we can get rid of Al Sharpton, have Al Sharpton.
Oh yeah, he's bad. He's bad news. I haven't heard from him. I mean, has he made? I think they said he made a statement.
Yeah, he made a statement.
I don't know.
I cannot. I would like to send him to Cuba.
Yeah,
let's send him.
There's quite a few of them that they don't seem to like our country very much. So then they should go someplace else where they think things would be easier for them.
Yeah,
Sean Penn. They could take Sean Penn. They could take DeBlasio and his diverse family. They could all go.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about Al Sharpton. He's an FBI informant, and that's one of the things that bothers me, that this guy was a FBI informant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a civil rights activist, and it just bothers me. That's like being, Martin Luther King being, he's not on the level of Martin Luther King, but just being, I can just see Martin Luther King as a FBI informant. I just don't get it. Why are we following someone like this? He's an FBI informant. He informed the FBI on mafia, and he's also selling drugs. So
look at But what he gets to do, he gets a seat in the White House. He gets a seat at the, he gets a seat at the White House with Obama. He's sitting next to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And he has a respected place there. And I just don't understand that. I don't know, everything just seems so mixed up and upside down and backwards.
And this country is, when we look at what's going on in this country, it worries me, and when I see what's happening around the country, and I see a lot of the things that are taking place, and the violence, and our children are less educated, And and when you see what's happening around the world, you're seeing ISIS, you're seeing what's going on in North Korea, and we're almost to the point of something is definitely on the rise, and the idea of what's going to happen, are we prepared for it? And the only thing
it's going to come to a head.
Yeah.
Is it going to get worse? How much worse before it comes to a head? That's what's scary.
Yeah.
And now, a lot of people were talking on the side of, talking about the police, saying, well, we don't need a militarized, the police why should they have machine guns? I said, look, the police, for the most part, are good, okay, and they're going to do what they're ordered to do. Mm-hmm. Now, so you have to kind of go then and change the leadership. You have to change. I mean, we can't have the more people like Obama and Holder and Sharpton and DeBlasio, the more that you have people like that leading and being in charge of the police, the worse it's going to be, because little by little they're going to create this kind of an army, and that's just going to be the accepted thing.
Yeah.
The police are going to be like like soldiers going around and telling us, people are going to fear them instead of feel comfortable. Because when I was a kid, it was a respect thing. You respected oh my God, the police are coming, and hi officer, we were respectful. Now the kids are yelling pig in their face, and they're actually pushing their buttons. Mm-hmm. And it's not a good direction. So we definitely have to bring it back to the right, to the center, however you want to say, but we have to get, we can't have communists like de Blasio.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah, we can't have people like that run part of it.
Because because like I said, the police are they're going to do what they're told to do. If they're told to arrest people for selling loosies they're going to do it. If they're told to stand back or stand down, they're going to stand down. Mm-hmm. So, it all starts from, we get angry at certain things, but it always starts somewhere else. We always have to look back and say, well, wait, where does this really start?
Yeah. And one of the things is that, I like I said to the Gardner family, I feel so bad because, when it's, you shouldn't have to sell loosies. You should be able to get a job, take care of your family, and we living in this type of economy where the politicians of New York City and especially the Obama factor has led people to sell loosies on the street, and it is difficult, and people are serious, and people are worried about what's happening, and this country needs to wake up. I think this country needs more. It has to become more a godly country, and a fear of what's going to happen next. We have Bob, we have serious issues with people that want to destroy this country, and that's what some of these protesters should be looking at. Some of these international groups that want to take over America or want to destroy America, like ISIS. It says individuals that hate America and would love to see America fall apart. Would love to see a bomb.
Sure.
Would love to see a bomb kill millions of people. Those are the enemies. Those are the people.
But we're letting it happen because of political correctness.
Yes.
We're letting it happen because you're not allowed to say, we're not allowed to profile. We're not allowed to say, no, you can't build another mosque there. I mean, and it is a slippery slope. I mean, we're supposed to have freedom of religion here. Mm-hmm. But so then it's like, okay, well, not that religion. It's like, okay, then what's your reason for that? Well, okay, because that religion, now, is it fair to say that all Muslims would say, that only our religion is good, otherwise you have to die?
Yeah.
No. So it becomes a very, complicated issue to say, well, we have freedom of religion here, so you can't pick on one religion. But, I mean, even the guy who killed these two cops, I mean, he was Muslim, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So, let's not make it that it was a crime to retaliate for killing Garner and Brown. Maybe this was more of a terrorist kind of killing, because they were also putting out threats. Terrorists were also putting out threats to kill our military and our police.
Yeah, also, you got to look at
which one was it?
The psychological stability of this individual. We got a lot of crazies out there. And one of the craziest things to do is to say it's okay to kill police officers. It's not okay to kill anyone. But when you go out there and you want to just go out and destroy, I think he says he's going to put wings on pigs. I mean, that's serious. That's seriously, something is wrong with you when you want to go out. And these police officers were protecting their communities. They were out there protecting their community, watching out for crime and violence in their areas. And when you kill a police officer, it just bothers me because police officers are you have a lot of great good police officers out there, but when you out there and when you kill two police officers who have children, who have a family to take care of, it bothers me and it hurts me, especially when a child knows his father is not coming home.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, and they had no regard for that. That wasn't even a thought in this killer's head.
Yeah.
They have no regard for that. Is there family? Does this person have a family? And it was just an execution.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say we want to promote the Facebook OnFire News Network and OnFire News Network on our YouTube channel. That's OnFire News Network YouTube and OnFire News Network Facebook. You can Facebook us, and also we want everybody to go to the YouTube channel to check out the other former shows that we have done, and you'll hear this show coming on with Barbara Gonzalez sometime in the next couple of days on YouTube. So, Barbara, I really, thank you, and you're such a patriot, and that to speak about some of these issues that is happening from around the country, and especially for the New York City police officers. It just hurts me. I cannot fathom.
I understand, Daryl, and a lot of us have had bad experience.
Yeah.
I've personally, and my family, have had very bad experience with police officers.
Uh-huh.
But I understand that it was those particular police officers, and I teach my kids, like even tonight, they're home for the holiday. They went out, and I said, remember, don't drink, make sure your headlights are on, don't look for any excuses to get in trouble. Just that if you stay, you don't have to walk on eggs, but just stay out of trouble. Be respectful if you get pulled over. You have to teach them to do the right thing, not to be terrified, but also not to be, when I see some of these videos, Daryl, I go crazy with these guys that are purposely pushing the cops. Why am I being detained? Well, because you probably, instigated it. So you could get some YouTube going on, and you get, being disrespectful to a police officer on purpose just to see how far you could push him.
And like I said, we have a younger generation that's more violent than ever before, very disrespectful than ever before to our own citizens. So, like I said, we have a lot of black on black crime. We have a lot of problems in our inner city areas. And that's just some of the things we should be focusing on for me.
Yeah.
In their city areas.
We've talked about that before, about education. That's another subject altogether. But I think we agreed on that, and we've talked about that before. And that really has to be talked about some more. We have to talk about where it starts, education, the schools. You can't just keep throwing money into these school systems and think that things are going to change, because it doesn't.
Yes.
Well,
I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. You're welcome to come on anytime.
Have a Merry Christmas.
And
to
you
all
too.
your listeners, I say Merry Christmas, and thank you so much. And you, sir, are a patriot.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Good work.
All right. Take care. God bless. Hi, that was Barbara Gonzalez. She is a patriot out of the Bayshore Tea Party. And I want to say this. there's too much violence and there's too much crime in our inner city areas and around the whole state of New Jersey and around the country. We definitely have to do something to wake the people up. And, it's a serious problem when you see a person just go after a cop and assassinate these two officers and they have family. These officers had family. These officers had children. And whoever shot this person, I can't think of his name right now, but, he killed himself. So, I feel bad for his mother and if he had children, his children, because we're too violent of a country, and we need to promote this nonviolence education. Matter of fact, we have a caller coming in right now. We're going to take this caller in. Hello, you're on fire. We got a caller in. Who's this?
This is Anwar Salandy. How's it going, Daryl?
Hey, Anwar Salandy of Anwar Reflections. Anwar is a blogger, and I heard he's about to become Dr. Anwar. Yeah, and so I just had Anwar. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. doing great, Daryl. Thanks for having me on.
I just had Barbara Gonzalez on. I don't know if you heard her. She is a Bayshore Tea Party, a patriot friend of mine. And, she is, she talked about some of the happening with the DeBlasio in New York City and the police department. And, the reason why I wanted to have you on, because I wanted to talk about, what are people talking to you about the police department? And from New Jersey, the Trenton police, the New York City police, some of the people that are protesting and organizing. What are people telling you, Anwar, about what's happening even with the Eric Gardner case?
Well, the people that I'm talking to a lot of college-age individuals, Mercer County College, Rider University, in that age range between 18 to, say, 25. And a lot of them are very angry, very upset about what they're finding in these news reports. The graphic video of Eric Garner being put in a chokehold by multiple police officers, and the case with the case in Ferguson, Missouri.
Michael Brown.
Michael Brown, and they're very upset. And basically, I think there's a discontent, and there's a movement emerging, or that's very prevalent right now that wants to see some sort of reform and accountability with these police departments.
Uh-huh.
But I want to speak about something very quickly, in terms of what Mayor DeBlasio was talking about as far as he pointed out something, the media, and I think as a citizen journalist or a blogger for the Trentonian and Anwar's Reflections, I think it's important to bring up that a lot of times what happens is the media will stoke up racial tensions, for the sake of the story, as opposed to objectively capture the heart and essence of the story. In this case, instead of reporting one way or giving coverage that would show that you're, anti-police or anti-protester, mm-hmm. Why don't you give an objective perspective on the case of these black men being killed by police officers? That's an important thing to talk about, because, like Mayor DeBlasio was saying, that this type of media coverage can divide us as opposed to bring us together, especially at this critical time in human history.
Yeah, and I truly believe that also when I read something, newspapers back in the day, the Trentonian and Trenton Times, media can divide individuals and make people feel that there's racial tensions and a lot of other things that was happening, because, as you know, the media is powerful.
Exactly, indeed, yes. Whether it's internet media, newspaper media, well, a lot of things are on the internet now. Radio media, like yourself on the radio, the media influences people every day on a very practical level. Those water cooler conversations we have at work or at school or so forth and so on, the media influences a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And, for me, it's like, how can people decide, are we living, because how old are you, Anwar?
I'm 32.
And what do you think about when you have a younger generation that basically, do they really understand what's happening within the media? Can they understand what's right and what's wrong? And that's what I see the media as the younger generation, especially the ones in their 20s. They can't really understand what's really happening, and if they're being used or not. And that's my problem. They're less educated than ever before. They're more Facebook users than ever before, and they're having, Facebook, Twitter. And when you look at some of the stuff that the younger individuals are writing on Facebook and videos they're posting are more violent than ever before. And, I mean, when you talk to these young individuals, do they really understand what's really happening to America?
I think you're onto something there, Daryl. I think a lot of the younger generation is out to lunch, so to speak. When it comes to really pressing or urgent social matters, like the things that are happening in Missouri and New York, across the nation. I think a lot of them are out to lunch, but I think there are some that are making some significant movement, in motion as far as pushing back against powers that be. Case in point, looking at it in Trenton, the Sage Collective. They were behind the whole mural. Trying to get the mural up, as a form of artistic expression. That for those who maybe not be aware, the Sage Collective, did a spray paint version mural of Michael Brown, the unarmed black teenager from Ferguson, Missouri, that was then taken down because a police officer made a complaint to the TDA, the Trenton Downtown Association. So groups like that, like the Sage Collective, groups that are really these are a youth-led group of individuals.
Yeah,
guys like Will Casso, graffiti artist, Black Calabiz, he's a rap artist or a musician there. These are young people speaking about something that means something socially on Facebook, but they're also taking it outside of Facebook to the streets, as a case in point with the mural in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah. Are they planning on putting that mural back up? I was reading something.
Yeah, they want to. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely they want to do that, and they want to actually put it. An attorney has come forward on Warren Street, I believe South Warren or North Warren, I'm not sure, where an attorney on Warren Street is open, is very receptive to having them do a mural on his storefront. That attorney storefront, as opposed to where it was before, because I believe there was an issue there having it where it was before.
Oh, okay. Now, Anwar, you're. I was reading something. You're about to become a doctor, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, another 18 months.
18 months.
A year and a half. That's the dissertation process. And for those who are wondering what a dissertation is, it's kind of like a book for people that get their doctorate.
Okay.
And I have to write a book, essentially, before I get my PhD. So, yeah, once I complete that, I'll be all done. And
Dr. Salandy. Oh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Anwar, what are your ideas? What are you planning on writing about in the next couple of weeks? I mean, because there's a lot of issues, we could definitely talk about, and you can definitely write about. I mean, if you look at what's happening in New York City with DeBlasio and the police force, if you look what's happening right now in North Korea, I mean, or ISIS, what's happening in, we could talk about what's happening in Russia and in Ukraine. I mean, some of the things this world right now is. We could also talk about Cuba, and it's a lot of things are happening, and we're at a revolutionary time around the world where you see all these revolutions breaking out, and you're seeing some of the things that you've never seen before in this world.
Yeah, like you said, Daryl, there are a number of issues that are prevalent right now.
Uh-huh.
For me and my research interests and what I'm particularly interested in talking about, I'm probably going to write about. I'm probably going to stay focused on the whole racial injustice, profiling. Following this case in New York, with DeBlasio, things of that nature, and go from there. I know that's only one slice of the pie, but I think that's a focus. That's an area where I'm really particularly interested in.
Okay, yeah, because I tell some, when I talk to my Tea Party friends and I tell them there is a race problem. We do have racism in America, and it's going to be a problem as long as there's evil in America. And I talked to one guy. He talked about slavery, and I said, well, listen. Slavery was over. Lincoln and the Constitution, they freed the slavery was free. But you got to understand, it's a documentary that talked about slavery by another name, where they locked up 700,000 African Americans. 700,000 African Americans right after slavery, and it was ended sometime in basically around 1940, right during the World War II was happening, and it was a lot of things are happening. And yeah, there's a massive injustice. We know that we have a lot more African Americans and men and women in jail and young kids going to jail than ever before. And we have black on black crime. I mean, we can definitely talk about black on black crime every day. And when you have a conservatives, some of they talk about, well, Eric Gardner and what happened to Michael Brown is it's sad, but what's worse, they look at what the problem is that you got more black people killing black people in the cities. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that argument.
Indeed. Now, and there's definitely a point there. I mean, I think definitely we don't want to lose sight of the personal responsibility argument, and that argument is just saying that we have to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and air out our own dirty laundry. We do have a high homicide rate within our own communities. It's not someone from the outside, the quote unquote the white man, doing this to us. A lot of this is black on black crime and issues that we deal with on a daily basis. And that's something we have to come to terms with and have serious discussions on, like Tavis Smiley does with the Conversations on Black America and other important leaders. That's important. But I don't think at the same time that should take away from the accountability that these police departments also have to hold to. And that's why I think I'm glad that President Obama has put some teeth behind the idea of trying to put some funding behind these cameras, installing surveillance cameras on these officers, because there has to be some sort of accountability mechanism.
I'm all for the cameras, but you can't change a person's heart. They're going to do what they're going to do. And if you look at what happened to Eric Gardner, there was a bunch of cameras on the police officers. They had the phones, iPhones, videotaping everything, and they did it anyway.
Well, no, I definitely understand. This kind of goes back to what was said on a previous show by new Black Panther spokesperson Divine Allah. He was saying that you can give police officers a million new gadgets, but the mindset, if you don't change the hearts and minds of people, if there's still a racist or prejudiced mindset, these problems will persist and continue.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and from both black and white. Because we've seen racism from the blacks, we've seen racism from white and Hispanic community, and as we all have to get along. Well, it's about 9:28, Anwar, and I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. We definitely want to have you back on and talk about some real serious issues, and we want to let everybody know that you're definitely a great writer, and I'll give you a call back later on after the show.
All right, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Take care. We have also Doc Long. Hey, Doc Long, I see you called, and give me a call back, my brother. Oh, matter of fact, this is Doc Long. Doc Long, I think, is this? Oh, this is not. Oh, this is somebody else. We're going to take this call. Hey, you're on fire with Daryl McKell Brooks.
Good evening, sir, and how are you today?
I'm pretty good.
That's good.
Who is this? Who's
Pastor
calling?
Shannon Wright.
Who's calling?
Pastor Shannon Wright.
Oh, Pastor Shannon Wright. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, pretty good. And I definitely, I'm happy that you called. And we were just on the phone with Barb Gonzalez from the Bayshore Tea Party. We was on the phone with Anwar Salandy, and Barbara was talking about what's happening with the New York City Bill DeBlasio and the police department. And Anwar called in, and he talked about some of the serious issues of the younger generation, and especially African American students, and how they feel about the whole thing with Eric Gardner and the police assassination, and the it's a whole big thing of how do you feel about racism, and how do you feel about us as a people in the generation, and it's serious out there what's happening around the country, and so if you can give me some of your insight, Pastor Shannon Wright, about what's in some of our listeners, because we have a lot of listeners definitely listening tonight. I mean, about how do you feel about some of the things that are happening around our country?
Well, I'll put it like this. For all of your listeners that are listening right now, message a couple friends and tell them to listen in, because it's about to get hot.
Okay, let's get it's on fire.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Okay.
We got a couple of issues. At the very least, a couple of issues. Race is an issue that in this country has been swept under the rug for far too long. We've got folks on the conservative side saying that it's not race, it's something else, it's just people not really working to their full potential in the American system. And then we've got people of a minority persuasion on the other side saying that's not it. Now, being black, I have two sons. And I have personally witnessed a situation with my son. And for those of your listeners that know me, you know there's no baseball cap wearing to the front or back. There's no pants drooping. There's no nothing that looks out of place because I didn't raise him that way. Yet my son, on his way to school, was stopped by a police officer because he looked out of place in the neighborhood, which was a neighborhood where there weren't too many of us.
Okay.
Now, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. The young man was appropriately dressed, heading to school. But he was still stopped, and he was harassed. Now, I taught him how to be respectful, so he was able to get himself out of that situation. He was scared, but he was able to get himself out of that situation because I taught him to overemphasize the fact that you are not resisting if you ever have an issue. Be respectful so that you can be alive to be angry about the situation. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that that is a reality that we have to teach our young male children.
Yes.
Now, the other side of that is that's a reality we live with because so many of our black families generationally have fallen apart that the children are not getting taught at home. So that phrase, don't start none, won't be none, we go out and start stuff and then get mad when our young folk get locked up.
Uh-huh. Okay. Keep on.
See, now, if we want to tell the truth and shame the devil, as my grandmother would say, you have to look at the things that are not happening and that are happening in the homes so that you can understand that there's a certain amount of responsibility that we as a people have,
yes.
myself included.
Yes.
See, because I raised mine correctly. But a couple of generations back, raising your own wasn't enough.
Ah, okay.
Help your neighbors and your family to raise theirs when an extra hand was needed. But we don't do that today. Today we see it and say, I'm glad that's not mine.
Yeah.
But you know what? Because of what's going on there that you may not intercede in might be why yours, who's in the right place at the right time, still gets caught up in the wrong thing.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
So we have a climate right now where folks are complaining about government intervention and not wanting to pay for that government intervention in terms of taxes and things like that, which I understand. However, we have those in the government that can see things that are lacking in our communities. The problem is twofold: parents not parenting and churches not churching. Because if we had parents that are in their place as parents and church leaders that were doing their jobs, we wouldn't have as much of a gap and where the government felt it needed to step in and fix things that we were not fixing in our own communities.
Now, Pastor Shannon Wright, do you think, and people said, I've heard leaders from around the country who sort of said that there's a definitely disconnect in the black church when it comes down to dealing with black youth.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Absolutely. A couple reasons that I can see. One is fear, and two is culpability and responsibility, and finances. See, now, if I am the typical pastor at a typical church, that means my church has a 501c3. So that means in order to keep that status, I'm going to be more mindful of my status than my message.
Okay.
So that already compromises your effectiveness because you're more concerned or equally concerned with being able to maintain your status. So that means things that you might say and you might do to be able to assist in a situation, you're going to think 2 or 3 times about doing because you don't want the ramifications to come back on you.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely believe that.
So we have a situation that's going to be rather difficult for anybody to get out of, because it's cyclical, and it's kind of like a circle inside of a circle running inside of a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got the parents not parenting, you've got the churches not churching, and you've got government getting in places where government doesn't need to be.
So, as a pastor, what do you think about, what has to happen? I truly believe that it has to be some type of either religious or spiritual revolution that has to take place in our country.
Well, I think that you are correct on that. There have been too many instances where too many folks have tried to get away from the principles that this country was founded on, and many of them were Christian principles.
Uh-huh.
And when you have things like trying to take Christ out of Christmas and say season's greetings and happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas, you have a stripping away of the thing on which, part of the thing at least, on which we were founded as a nation. So that in itself is going to leave us on very rocky ground. So, to me, we need to put ourselves back in the mindset of our founding fathers and some of the principles that this great nation was built on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were biblical principles.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a reason for that.
Yeah, I definitely believe, what you're saying is right. And, we can, when you see that you have a younger generation who really don't understand the whole biblical principles, what do you do when, you have individuals, the young kids that's coming up, and, they don't believe in the Bible, they don't read, they don't understand who Jesus Christ was. I mean, how do you teach them? How do you wake them up? What are some of the ideas that you came across to wake some of these young kids up?
Well, when you're dealing with a person, young or old, that you can see really has no foundation, you really have to break it down into things that they can see. Mm-hmm. In terms of government, in terms of community, in terms of family, and in terms of the Bible. And a lot of times, the way I try to explain things to folks is in terms of their pocket. See, people may not understand the broad strokes, but they understand the fine points in terms of how it affects their pocket. So, if you start from there and work your way up, you can usually get a spark that'll grow.
Mm-hmm.
Some years ago, I had to explain to one of my sons, there was some talk of increasing minimum wage. This was about maybe 5-6 years ago, and he was still a young teenager at the time. So in his mind, that was great. And I said, I can understand how that might seem great. I said, but if you work for me, and I'm paying you, and I now have to pay you more, you're happy. But if I'm paying you more and I'm not making more, then I'm charging more. So if I'm charging more, then other folks are paying more, and whatever they're doing, their prices increase. So that more money that you're happy that's in your pocket right now, you actually have to pay more of it to somebody else to make up the difference in the fact that they've raised their price because they're now paying their employees more. So you have to really understand a cause and effect. You can relate to it in terms of that. And then I said to my son when he started driving, I said, you're looking at gasoline. And you're looking at, I said to him, how much does a gallon of gas cost? And he told me the price at the time. And I said, no. How much does the gas alone cost before taxes? And he said, oh, well, let me find out. So he went to do some research. And he said that there was a big difference. I said, now, do you understand the concept of taxes? So we broke it down, and I explained it to him, and he said, oh. So then, because in his mind, and the way he was taught in public school, which at one point was a Title I public school before we pulled him out and homeschooled him, what he thought was that it's everybody's responsibility to pay higher taxes to cover those things that other folks can't do. And I said, in theory, that's cute, but you really need to understand where taxes come from, where it goes, what it does, and how the whole system works. And then he started to kind of pick up on things, and again, I broke it down to a teenage mind.
Okay.
And he started to get it. Now, the problem is, a lot of folks don't take the time to do that with their children, and there are basic things that are just not taught in school. They're just not taught anymore. Most kids, by the time they graduate high school, do not know how to fill out a check. Everything's online. Everything's electronic. And if you ask too many of them too difficult questions, you find out that they're challenged with addition and subtraction as well, because they use calculators. And again, everything is electronic. We seem to have lost some of the qualities of teaching our children to be thinkers. We've somehow developed a last few generations that are followers, not even leaders, and certainly not thinkers. So until we start to turn that around, we're going to continue to have the problems that we see. And they're going to get worse. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, I definitely, definitely understand where you're coming from. And we're going to go into a station break, and we'll be right back. This is OnFire Show, and you're here with Pastor Shannon Wright, and she's from North Jersey, and she is definitely a strong pastor, and she's talking about some of the serious issues that are happening in our state and our communities. We'll be right back.
Call Andrew Martino, Farmers Insurance, for all your insurance needs. Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's ANDREW.ALBRIGHT@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's ANDREWMARTINO of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
Whether you're challenged with dry, brittle, flaky skin, oily skin, or your skin is simply dull and lifeless, I've got a great skincare line for you. It's called Tazati, T-A-Z-A-T-I. At Tazati.com, you can order products online that are so pure and natural, your skin will come alive with radiance and vitality. You see, Tazati organic skincare products use deep, hydrating moisturizers with natural elements like aloe vera, olive squalene, and shea butter, rich and proven to replenish your skin, yet never greasy. Also, if you suffer from adolescent or menopause acne, you can shop online for Tazati's gentle two-step cleanser, which heals acne by balancing your pH, ultimately putting a stop to skin eruptions for a clean, clear complexion. And the popular Vanishing Elite product can be applied to your face and neck to help combat dark spots for a smooth, even complexion. Place your order today and see what a few of the many satisfied Tazati customers are saying. Go to Tazati.com.
Hamilton Radio. The 60s. The 70s. The 80s. And a lot more. All come alive here every weekend on Hamilton Radio.
Hi, this is Pat Foran, and you're listening to Hamilton Radio.
Listen to the 60s.
Great music. I love it.
The 70s.
A good, wholesome station for everyone to listen to.
The 80s.
A lot less talk and a lot more music.
The 90s.
Oh, this is going to be a good day.
And hits from today's artists.
Great music. I love it.
You can't get a better station than this.
Here on Hamilton Radio.
Hey, you're back with OnFire Show. This is Daryl McKell Brooks. You're here with also Pastor Shannon Wright. Hello, my sister. How you doing?
I am well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. And you want to talk about your book that you're hopefully going to be publishing in the next month or two?
Within the next 2 months, and it's going to happen in that time frame. I'm one that believes in controversial titles simply because you want to spark someone's interest, whether it's anger or just curiosity. You want them to pick up the book and read it.
Okay.
My first book was titled White Folks' Guide to Understanding the Black Community and Get Out the Vote. Mm-hmm. And that was deliberate because I wanted people to say, well, what is this all about? And actually pick it up and read it. This book is called Black Boy. And it's because of all of the high-profile activity, shall we say, murders and deaths that have been happening in our communities and specifically in our urban areas. And it's a series of interviews with folks from the ages of their early 20s to their early 60s with black men that have had their own different experiences which have made them the people that they are, but they've used those experiences to show that the American dream is still alive. And the title is Black Boy Surviving to Chase the... It's really a wake-up call for everybody.
Okay.
For my black folks, it's a wake-up call to say, listen, you know, you may have been from a generation that there were more broken families with fathers missing than not, but what are you doing now? If you survived, not just stayed alive, but survived and thrived, what are you doing to ensure that those around you can do the same? Mm-hmm. And it's from multiple perspectives. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you're familiar with it since you are one of those that is being interviewed for the book.
Oh, I am definitely so proud.
Some of the other folks are an author by the name of Michael Wright, his son, Michael Wright Jr., a Pastor Bruce Rivers out of California, and another gentleman that those in the black community would probably know the name, BET's Ralph McDaniels.
Oh, wow, yes.
Mm-hmm. The point of the book is to get folks to stop and listen and think for a minute. Uh-huh. It's not enough that you stayed alive. It's not enough that you stayed alive and raised yours well. But in this time, in this day and age, with so much turmoil, it's incumbent to do more. It's incumbent for you to reach out maybe to your neighbor who may not have a father figure in that house and is raising some young sons.
Yes.
You know, to be that positive role model. Mm-hmm. One of the gentlemen came here from another country, and his father was not a member of their household. He was in the beginning, but the parents separated. Uh-huh. And his influence, he had two. One were the guys on the street corners, and this was in the Bronx, and in the South Bronx at that, in the 80s. Okay? So obviously that was not the best of role models right there, as you could probably surmise. And the other role model that he had, which now, to a lot of folks would be ironic, was Bill Cosby and The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
So for him, not having his dad in the home, those were the polar opposite role models that he had. And since one was on TV, you choose not to believe what's on TV and to believe what's right in front of you, especially as a child. Mm-hmm. So he was fortunate in that his uncles stepped in and did the things with him and for him that his father should have and would have done.
Yeah. And I assume a lot of your people interviewed are probably single black men. I mean, not single, but only fatherless black men in the inner city?
A lot of them are, not all of them. Mm-hmm. Not all of them. Some of them, their perspective is from the fact that they weren't always a role model, but their times and trials and tribulations with the justice system in this country.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them from the perspective of what they did to get themselves in trouble, some from what was done to them to get them in trouble. Mm-hmm. But that regardless, the two factors that were consistent were they were male and they were black.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how they chose to use the things that were done to them and that they lived through to make them stronger and the people they are today.
Yeah.
And how do we follow those examples to teach our young black men today that they have self-worth, that they have value, that they don't need to do the things that they're doing. That is not their only solution.
Oh, yeah. When I grew up in the city, I told you part of my story, and I grew up in the city in a place called Dolly Homes. And when I grew up, I seen a lot of good kids, but I seen a lot of the kids, they just went totally the wrong way. Either were selling drugs, robbing people, going to the youth house, going to jail more than ever before. And it was one of those terrible things when you see people you grew up with who were great kids, and next thing you know, they made a mistake or they did something. It just the situation happened, and they got just caught up in the system. And one of the things I like to talk about, the system has to understand that there has to be some forgiveness within the system. When I say the system, the criminal justice system, because we have a lot of our young inner city youth that are struggling to get jobs and take care of their family, and they made a mistake, but the system made mistakes too. No one is asking them to make changes like they should, and forgiveness, and it's about doing the right thing, as doing the morally right thing for a generation of individuals that have got caught up in the system. Some did wrong, but other ones that did not do anything wrong. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it just bothers me when I see that it happened in the 60s, it happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and it's happening now in 2014. And we're going through the same issues that we went through back when Dr. King and Martin Luther King were protesting and organizing, fighting for rights. And
absolutely right. You are absolutely correct. And as a matter of fact, that was actually before my time.
Uh-huh.
But from what I have read and studied of that time,
yeah,
and that was 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
We are now in a place of so much civil unrest as if it were still then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to me, all the progress people want to talk about we've made hasn't been real sustaining progress in order, or we wouldn't be back there again.
Yeah.
And some folks will even argue that it's not that we're back there, it's that we never really left there.
Oh, yeah, we really haven't. I mean, we have more our young kids going to jail than ever before. And we understand, right, there is a moral problem. And
that goes back to the issues that I spoke of in
yeah.
terms of what you're getting at home.
Yeah, because we didn't, we talked, let's say I talked with Barb Gonzalez about the Michael Brown case. When it reported that Michael Brown went after and he had tried to snatch the gun from a police officer. Now, back in the day, it was known that you just certain things that you would not do. You would not try to take a gun from a cop. You would not, certain things you would not curse your parents. You would not do certain things to your own community. You would not sell drugs, and you would not, prostitute your own sisters. And what we're doing, when you see
what's to put that, and I agree with you 100%, is back in the day, even when you did wrong, there was a code.
Yeah, there was a code. There were certain things you just would not do. Yeah, and now, like, there's a generation. I remember. I heard someone sat me down and they threw in a speech, a Farrakhan speech. He said he was at Morgan State. And he said when Jesse Jackson was in Ferguson and the people in the young generation told Jesse Jackson, get the hell out of here. You're no leader. And, that was, I saw that on YouTube, and that was one of the most interesting things. Here's a guy that fought and spoke out and marched with Dr. King. And now there are people, the younger generation, don't view him as a leader anymore.
They don't.
Yeah. They told him to get the hell out of Ferguson.
And there are reasons why they don't.
Yeah.
Some of them are ill-informed.
Yeah.
And highly judgmental.
Yeah.
And judgmental by a glass that they would not want to be judged by.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, there is a void, a vacuum, a gap in leadership for the black community.
Yes. You're definitely right. And it's, and hopefully we can, as yourself and me and other ones, we can try to fill that void because it's needed. A great moral leadership, a leadership that will challenge the system, and a leadership that will stand up for what's right. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And we have a caller in, and God bless, and I will talk to you in the next couple of days. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, we got Doc Long.
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
You got a good show going on tonight, Daryl. It's good to hear you, man. You had some nice callers in, and it's really shaping up to be a well-focused program. I just want to talk about Clifford, my man Clifford Adams.
Okay.
Needing a liver transplant.
Uh-huh.
And right now, his family is trying to deal with the politics of getting him to Newark to get the liver transplant. It seems that the affordable health care program for him is not going to kick into January 1st, and the hospital is not trying to rush to get him where he can get sufficient care. Mm-hmm. There's a meeting tomorrow at 10:30 at 540 East State Street for anyone out there who's listening who wants to become involved in setting an agenda in exactly how to deal with this. Yeah. So perhaps some of your listeners may want to join us and pull for Clifford, of course, of Kool and the Gang, who cultural heroes. Sometimes politicians cannot save us from places that cultural heroes can. And certainly Kool and the Gang throughout the years has supplied worldwide stamina and emotional vision to people, and for people who just like to party. Kool and the Gang has always been there. And, of course, they're conceived of as being part of New Jersey, man. They started in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
So sort of lend us a hand in trying to set an agenda and do something for Clifford tomorrow, 10:30 at 540 East State Street. Mm-hmm. Second thing I want to talk about is some of the issues that you introduced tonight, some very nice conversations. But my position is this, and I've talked to you about this many times, modernity, man, coming into modernization. When we look at history, we see where societies and civilizations coming into modernity have faced crises with the populace. The people became rebellious. The people became unruly for political systems, and so forth. Humanity has always had a restlessness about it.
Yeah.
Humanity has always had this searching and this curiosity. People use it for inventions. Other people use it to suppress people. You know, what are we going to do with the whip? What are we going to do with prisons? What are we going to do with incarcerations? Some system has always existed to incarcerate those people who would not work on the treadmill, who would not be a part of what modernity required of them. So we're in the face of modernity now, and it's moving very, very fast.
Yeah.
I remember once as a kid, we caught a train down at the Assunpink Creek, and it was going slow, but it picked up speed. We couldn't jump off till we got up to New Brunswick. So modernity is like this. You know, this is modernity that we're hold on to some traditional values, throw some values out, and incorporate new values. Mark Twain, beautiful sense of humor. He said, history doesn't exactly repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So we've got things going around in circles, and modernity is going around in circles, and it's as if time has stopped or gone back to where it was 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. And can I ask you a question?
Say it again.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
You know, I want to quote to you. Martin Luther King said this he said it in around 1960 before he was assassinated. And the quote, I mean, do we still believe in this? That he said that we're all caught up in this great inescapable network of mutuality tied in the single garment of destiny. And whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. And that I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be unless I am what I ought to be. Then he quotes John Donne, the poet. It says that no man is an island. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main.
He's not the first one to say that. We can go all the way back to philosophers into eternity and talk about the philosophical
but do we believe this?
Out of Greece. We can talk about some of the philosophical concepts that came out of Africa and other parts of the world, out of Buddhism and so forth. That concept of the one humanity, that concept of the one personification of mankind and the strivings, and that one thing diminishes everyone else. Of course, I think that has validity. But there are some people who do not embrace that. Let me tell you what one of the writers that I admire has said, Richard Wright. Beautiful, beautiful writer. Richard Wright said the argument between black people and white people is only one argument. It's only one thing, and that is the nature of reality.
Yeah.
What is the nature of reality? It all depends, like Sekou Sundiata, the poet said, it all depends on the skin you're living in. And it all depends on how much money you got in. And look at the stock market. It's going through the roof. So the nature of reality, if you ask those brothers that are incarcerated and the brothers that are struggling in the streets and struggling poverty, their reality is different than the reality of a philosopher who is working at an Ivy League university.
Yeah.
So what is the nature of reality that people are dealing with? We talked earlier about the Kerner Commission report that sought this, that was trying to shed some light on the issues of the 1960s. Two societies, that we're being divided in. Now, maybe it's 1.5 societies. Who knows? But these are conditions that exist on the planet. Look at China. Look at the Middle East. Look at the Arab. Look at the Islamic revolution. Look at the revolutions that are taking place in Africa. Look at the terrorists that are breaking out all over the world. This is man's restlessness in the midst of modernity. Now, do I have solutions for them? Well, I do know that tomorrow I'm going to try and help Clifford Adams out. I'm going to start as close to home as I possibly can to do something about the nature of reality that is facing me.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where I'm at, Daryl.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, I pick up another position and begin to move on that. But
okay.
We are in this huge transition, and yes, I believe what Dr. King said. Of course, I read an article today of a professor at Stanford University who is the head of the Department of Religion. And she said that she thinks that religions, churches, are indoctrinating people too much, and that the focus of churches and religion should shift to art. Well, that's her argument. That's her position. That's her restlessness. That's her curiosity in the face of modernity. Has it happened before historically? Certainly it has. Moving from the Romantic period to the period of Enlightenment to the periods of indoctrination throughout history, these cycles can continue to go and to develop themselves. back to the other idea, though. It's the nature of reality that people are arguing about. Hey, what can I say? What can I say?
Yeah, you're definitely right of nature of their reality, and like I said, like you said, tomorrow, and I will definitely, for my reality, they will definitely tomorrow be supportive of this, and when I talked to his wife, and I said that that something has to be done, and something has to be done not tomorrow, but or it has to be done now. And that's how you have to think. When you deal with a situation like this with Clifford Adams, and you did a Capitol Health as a juggernaut of health in New Jersey, you really have to put the pressure on them. And I don't want to say, like we talked about, could it be a black issue? Whether they're dealing with this, and whether
I wasn't even going to play the race card,
yeah.
man. And a picket should be the last thing that we would have to do to try and save a musician's life.
Mm-hmm.
It were, and let me play the race card. If it were a white musician with the status of black musicians, I doubt that this problem would exist. Now, it all depends on the skin you're living in. I know some of your listeners are going to say, uh-oh, there he goes with the race car. Well, hey, this has been my reality. I grew up in the 50s in America.
Uh-huh.
I know about segregation and so forth. So, hey, I got to keep a race car handy in my pocket to play it when I see it that way.
Okay, Doc, that's the reality.
Daryl, hey.
That's the reality of things, And what I've said, and with Pastor Shannon Wright has said, about reality, what's happening in our streets, and there's racism everywhere. You said with her son, who dressed well and got stopped by the police. Now, I've been stopped by the police. Me and my buddy's been stopped by the police, and I've been going through situations.
I tell you what, I told my daughters to tell my grandsons if they get stopped by the police, pull over. Have the right documents, and turn on the interior light in the car.
Yeah.
A lot of these police officers are afraid, man. They're out there risking their lives every day. Turn on the interior light of the car. Put him at ease. Let him see that you don't carry no gun, that you got no dope, that you pull over and give him duty. Yes, sir. No, sir. Bam.
Yeah.
None of it. Fear will cause a man to do dreadful things to you, man.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Absolutely. So, cooperate with the law. Mm-hmm. And the idea is not, we're talking about bad schools. We're not talking about getting rid of teachers. We're talking about improving education. We're talking about policing. So there's some bad police, there's some good police, but policing is a broader concept. How do you police the African American community as opposed to policing a community of your own nationality? There's a difference there. There has to be training. There has to be sensitivity training for police officers who are working in African American or minority communities. Ask the Irish, ask the Italians. They have gone through the same things. This is it, except that, here we go again, it must be the skin that you're living in. So, policing should definitely, and I think that policing is part of the Kerner Commission report anyway. And check that out for me, man.
Okay, I definitely will, Doc.
And see what's happening. Okay, it's 10:15, man. Good show. I hope that we get some results for Clifford tomorrow.
We definitely will. I guarantee you we'll get some results because I know you're involved. I'm involved, and we have to get him into Newark, to the hospital in Newark. And we have to do all I can. And we got to get the citizens to, like I said, like I told his wife, have citizens call the hospital, have people writing letters, calling, demanding the press write about this, because it's a shame. It's almost to the point of the movie John Q, when I told you about John Q with the Denzel Washington movie.
Yes.
And
that's not an option at this point.
Yeah.
With people as afraid as they are of crowds and gatherings of people who have grudges, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, I think we put that on the agenda for tomorrow in terms of calling the hospital and writing letters and so forth and getting it in front of the media.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be extremely important.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm with that 110%.
Let me go and nurse this cold, man.
All right, man.
I'm coming down with something.
Take care.
I better get on.
If anybody know who you are, I'm going to let everybody know who you are. You're the father of Nia Long, the beautiful Nia Long, and the great actress.
Yes.
You should have been
a wonderful actress.
Yes.
And thank you for mentioning it. And I'm also the daughter of Samora, the comedian. They're wonderful children. I have 3 daughters and I have 4 grandsons.
Oh,
and God
man.
has been bountiful. My cup runneth over, man.
Oh, man. You should have been my father-in-law. But, that's another story. All right, Doc. I thank you for coming on. Take care.
Now.
God bless.
Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's ANDREWMARTINO of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
Hamilton Radio, the 60s, the 70s,
where I keep on thinking about you, sister golden hair surprise,
the 80s, and a lot more, all come alive here every weekend on Hamilton Radio.
Whether you're challenged with dry, brittle, flaky skin, oily skin, or your skin is simply dull and lifeless, I've got a great skincare line for you. It's called Tazati, T-A-Z-A-T-I. At Tazati.com, you can order products online that are so pure and natural, your skin will come alive with radiance and vitality. You see, Tazati organic skincare products use deep, hydrating moisturizers with natural elements like aloe vera, olive squalene, and shea butter, rich and proven to replenish your skin, yet never greasy. Also, if you suffer from adolescent or menopause acne, you can shop online for Tazati's gentle 2-step cleanser, which heals acne by balancing your pH, ultimately putting a stop to skin eruptions for a clean, clear complexion. And the popular Vanishing Elite product can be applied to your face and neck to help combat dark spots for a smooth, even complexion. Place your order today and see what a few of the many satisfied Tazati customers are saying. Go to Tazati.com.
If you want whole foods and more natural products while making your family healthier, visit 2285475.myforevergreen.org. That's 2285475.myforevergreen.org. Do it today.
Call Andrew Martino, Farmers Insurance, for all your insurance needs. Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's ANDREWMARTIGHT@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's ANDREWMARTINO of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
Hamilton Radio, the 60s, the 70s,
where I keep on thinking about you, sister golden hair surprise,
the 80s, and a lot more, all come alive here every weekend on Hamilton Radio.
Whether you're challenged with dry, brittle, flaky skin, oily skin, or your skin is simply dull and lifeless, I've got a great skincare line for you. It's called Tazati, T-A-Z-A-T-I. At Tazati.com, you can order products online that are so pure and natural, your skin will come alive with radiance and vitality. You see, Tazati organic skincare products use deep, hydrating moisturizers with natural elements like aloe vera, olive squalene, and shea butter, rich and proven to replenish your skin, yet never greasy. Also, if you suffer from adolescent or menopause acne, you can shop online for Tazati's gentle two-step cleanser, which heals acne by balancing your pH, ultimately putting a stop to skin eruptions for a clean, clear complexion. And the popular Vanishing Elite product can be applied to your face and neck to help combat dark spots for a smooth, even complexion. Place your order today and see what a few of the many satisfied Tazati customers are saying. Go to Tazati.com.
Listen to the 60s.
Great music. I love it.
The 70s.
A good wholesome station for everyone to listen to.
The 80s.
A lot less talk and a lot more music.
The 90s.
This is going to be a good day.
And hits from today's artists.
Great music. I love it.
You can't get a better station than this.
Here on Hamilton Radio.
Hey, back with OnFire show. This is Daryl McKell Brooks. It is 10:23. We got a few more minutes before we go. You know, I like to say that I like to thank all our listeners and callers, Doc Long, Barb Gonzalez, Marcia Adams, Clifford Adams' wife. I'd also like to thank Pastor Shannon Wright for calling in, Anwar Salandy. Well, we had a lot of people call in. I mean, what's that, 5 callers? Wow, that's a lot of callers. It's if you want to give us a call, quick call, 609-800-1003. That's 609-800-1003. You got about 6 minutes. Any calls, any comments? What do you want to make any about today's show? Give me a call, 609-800-1003. Also go to the Facebook and like us. Like us on Facebook, OnFire News Network, and check us out on YouTube, OnFire News Network. You can check us out on YouTube, some of our old shows. And like I said, I'd like to thank all of our listeners, and also, but I want to say hi to Neil and his family. He's going to have a Castle Consultant is going to have a great Christmas, and also Joe Ciano, and he's down. I think he's in Delaware with his wife. But, and wife and kids. But I think that, I like to say, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to his family. And we'll definitely be back on in the New Year's. And it's going to be an exciting show. And to my family, I'm down if they're listening, but, they're going to have a great Christmas. And to my fiance, who I love, Johnlette, I love you, love you, love you, love you. And she's probably sleeping right now, getting ready for work, thinking about her beautiful dreams that she usually have, and getting up, and got to get up in the morning and go to work. That's what we all have to do. And, I'd like to thank all listeners. It's been a great show today, and we had a lot of callers in, people that called in. And a diverse group of callers, young, old, liberal, conservative. So I thank all of my guests for coming on the show. So I like to say that, we all have to work together to deal with this problem that we have. We definitely have a race problem, and also we have a violence problem. There's too much violence in our communities, and, we have our young people killing each other every day. We have more rapes than ever before when you look at the rapes and going on in the colleges and in the community. I mean, it's we have to wake up, people. We definitely have to wake up. And, one of the things that I'm doing is January 10th at the First Presbyterian Church in Trenton. I have been bringing in Dr. Bernard Lafayette. He is Martin Luther King's aide in the 60s. He was also a freedom writer. Also, he was part of the Selma Montgomery March. But also what he's doing right now is teaching nonviolence education and talking to both the youth and adults, how to be nonviolent. Because we need to be nonviolent towards each other. There's too much violence, and violence will destroy our communities. And we have a beautiful community. We got a beautiful country. We don't want to see our country destroyed with violence, and we all have to love each other. I mean, that's what the Bible talked about. I mean, for those who understand Christianity, what did Jesus say? Love everybody. Bless them that curse you. Pray for those who despitefully use you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Love each other. King talked about love. it was just one of the things when he said that we're all caught up in this great inescapable networking mutuality, tied in the single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly, and that I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you can never be what you ought to be unless I am what I ought to be. Then he quotes John Donne the poet, said that, no man is an island. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Then he goes on to say that any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind. Therefore, never send to know whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. This is how we should be as a country. This should be as a people. We're all one people, and we're all one family. And one of the things I was watching, the Planet of the Apes, and I was watching. It was the second one, and that's what they thought it was a virus, and it was one of those things where Cornelius was talking with the other, I think might have been a chimp, ape, and, they were talking to each other. And he said that, they thought that all the humans were dead. And he said, well, and Cornelius tells the other ape, we're not like them. We're a family. Apes don't kill each other. And that was that's a great kind of message, what he said. He said that apes, we're all family. Apes don't kill each other. Even though we're not apes, we're all one family. We don't kill each other. And we need to really think about what we're doing. We shouldn't be violent towards each other. We shouldn't be out committing violent crimes at all, raping each other. I mean, there's so many things that this wonderful country can do, or what we can do for this country. As John F. Kennedy said, in his inauguration speech, and he said, ask not what this country can do for you, but what you can do for this country. And that's important. What can we do to make America stronger? Bring more jobs in America. What can we do? And I'm sure if we put our minds together, we can do some great things. But we have to sit and talk to each other. We have to learn from each other. We cannot continuously make the same mistakes over and over again. And that's what I've seen happening. We're making the same mistakes over and over again. So we really have to come together and sit down at the table and work things out. Because I still have faith. I still have faith in this country. And we definitely have to work these things out. This is Daryl McKell Brooks. I'd like to thank all my listeners, I like to thank all our listeners